And hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Scribes and Friends. I am here today with 5 people. First off, down in the bottom right of the screen, we have AJ Poppy Alexanders, who is the Queen of the Hat. I don't know that I've ever seen her without a hat on, and it's just part of her mystique. In the middle bottom, we have Thea Lyons, who is a dark fantasy author from England and has a pretty cool accent. I'm telling you right now, pretty cool. Below me is Amber Toro, who writes Romantici, I believe is how you pronounce it, among other things, and has some really funny starships in her books. I'm going to put that out there right now. And then over that way, we have Lorraine L.M. Douglas, who writes about sexy snake ladies. And next to me, Alex Schuerman, who I think wrote a book. I don't really remember anything else about it. So what I'm going to do is let everybody give their little spiel to start off with. Tell us about you. Tell us about your books. Show us copies of your books. And we'll go from there. So I'll start us off with Poppy.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, I don't know who you are. This is Dave. Hi, Dave.
I am Dave Lawson. I am your bald host. And I wrote a book that I'll talk about at the end or something, maybe.
Awesome.
We'll make you talk about it.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll get to you. You gave us no script, so here we go. We're unhinged now. Hi, I'm Poppy Alexanders. I write comedic fantasy adventure. I wrote Not Your Mountain, which is a short, fun book about a dwarf who goes on his first adventure and encounters Murphy's Law. So everything that could possibly go wrong goes horribly awry. It's fun. It's very light. It's meant to be read between serious things. It was part of an Inkfort publishing derby. So it was written very quickly, and I enjoyed writing it very much. And I liked the idea so much that I wrote a second one in the same world, and I have a third one coming out early next year. So that's what I do. Thanks for having me on.
All right. And Thea.
So, like you say, I'm British. I now feel self-conscious about my accent, so thank you for that. I write very British books. So these are based in York, which is basically just looks like, oh, it won't do it. That's what York looks like. And it is creepy and eerie, and there's arcane murders and witches and all sorts of fun things.
Very cool.
All right. And Amber.
I'm Amber Toro. My book is Umbra. Like Dave said, it's like a romantici. It is a space opera adventure set 10,000 years in the future, in a time where pilots are bonded with their sentient starships for life, and a signal in the void threatens to destroy everything. I also write fantasy. I have a gas lamp fantasy novelette that I wrote for my daughter that's out. And I have a novel in the same world that I wrote for my son that I'm editing right now.
And you also sell these copies that have the fancy sprayed edges and all that. I just
and then the character art.
Not about the artwork, but there it is. All right. And Lorraine.
I'm writing an epic fantasy series called Chronicles of the Endless War. And book 1 was out a few years ago, and book 2 was out last September. And I've written lots of little pieces of lots of little things since to try and... This world's going to be huge when it finally is finished. But now I'm writing book 3. So Grantia's Fate is kind of like the end book of this patch, but it's definitely going to go beyond that. So huge world, and probably that's why people are reluctant to pick it up, because they know that there's so much more to read.
But you're writing something else too as well.
Yeah, I was writing a little project in January called Cawthorborn, which is going to be involved in the world, but I decided to write in first person, do a little project with that, and it's going to be a little bit more spicy, a little bit dark fantasy spice. I'm trying. I don't know.
And speaking of spice, Alex.
I'm Dave Lawson, the author of Envoys of War. I write quippy fantasy. It's like D&D-esque, lots of characters, lots of shenanigans, plans and plans and plans. And I'm bald, so that's me.
If it makes you feel better, he did this to me on my show.
I mean, I feel like he's probably already done this to me in one of the several different lives we've been on.
Don't spoil the bit, Dave. I'm Alex. I wrote the Autolic Stone. This is a young adult fantasy adventure. Yeah, but my other intro is way more exciting.
All right. Well, I'm Dave. Like we said, I wrote this book, The Envoys of War. It is a quippy fantasy adventure, as Alex said. Snarky banter, shenanigans, a little bit of light torture, some things like that. And I am writing a novella right now that I'm getting close to being ready to send off to beta readers and then editing and all that kind of stuff. And it's also quippy, but I feel like I'm becoming a grimdark writer in the third act of it because things are getting a lot darker than the first book. So apparently I am switching genres mid-series. But we are all here. It looks like, well, all here except Lorraine, who apparently went to get her pizza. So we're going to start off with quickly just having each person, and anyone can go first, but what are some of the books that you have on the horizon that you are thinking about writing, that you are writing, that you want to write, but your name is Alex and you're probably not going to write it? So anyone who wants to jump in.
I wrote this.
I'm kind of writing that. So.
It's a show and tell after my pizza now.
So Thea, you have a book coming out soon.
Yes, in 3.5 weeks.
Oh.
Which is somewhat confusing because obviously I finished writing it a while ago and I am now writing book 3. So the book coming out is book 2 of the Seer of York because I can't count. So this is book 1 and this is book 1.5. Book 2 is about to come out. So I am writing book 3 and then trying to actually remember which bits go in which book when people ask me about them because it's all kind of slipped together, especially now I've got my main characters in because one of my main characters doesn't really show up in book 1. But anyone who's read the short stories will know that he is a cat. So that's a lot of fun to write. I like writing non-humans. And then I have secret news on a Cyber Fae project. So I'll be editing that soon. And at some point I have this weird dark academia thing in my head that I want to write if I ever find time.
And you have one about a bard, don't you?
Yes, that's the one that is in secret mode at the moment. That's
okay. A
weird mix of cyberpunk and folk music.
Okay.
Interesting.
I just saw the word bard and was like, I absolutely will be reading this book.
It's me very, very British again. There's a lot of tea. There's a lot of British folk music.
To be fair, my whole writing thing is to try to be as British as possible. So it works. And then, Amber, you also have a book coming out relatively soon. I know you're getting close to sending out arcs on it.
Yes. So book 2 in my Sentient Star series, that's my space opera, is coming out this spring. I'm going through line edits right now. So that's the one that's coming out next. And then I'm halfway through drafting a dragon science fantasy. I always like to draft something new while my books are in line edits, I guess. It's fun. And then my Gaslamp fantasy, which is fully drafted, and I need to find time to edit.
All right. And Alex, you have a secret project out there.
Wait, we're supposed to be writing?
That is the next question. We'll get there in a second.
I'm currently working on a very silly murder mystery fantasy thing, and I told Poppy about it a little bit, but It's going to be very silly. That's all I can say so far. And maybe at some point I'll be releasing a sequel to this, maybe. And also we are releasing a little Secret Set Scribes anthology that's going to be probably the next thing that comes out with my name on it. So that'll be fun.
Awesome.
And I will tell you right now, there is a story in there based on Lorraine's personal life that I wrote because, it's just what I do. But Lorraine, what are you working on right now, and how spicy is it?
Well, Cawthorborn is... I started writing it on Christmas Day, believe it or not. My husband and my son they love their sleep. So they didn't get up, and I'm there on Christmas Day going, what am I going to do? I'm going to just start something before they wake up. And this thing just kind of took off. And in the whole of January, I've just been totally obsessed with it. So it's a story about a Cawthor, which is a creature like a sort of lizardy dragon lady who is turned into female skin by her master, and he uses her in certain ways, basically to combat his enemies. And the story kind of goes from there. But yeah, I just thought, we have some spicy writers in our group, and I've read a little bit of spicy. I'm mostly Fade to Black, so this is a bit of a trial to see where it all goes. But I know the genre is quite huge, and I just thought, well, I'll maybe have a different entry point into my series and use this as a kind of... It's just an experiment, and I'm really enjoying it, so why not?
So wait, the main character is a sexy lizard lady?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for those of you
I hadn't heard that detail yet.
Series,
Well,
the fan favorite character is a sexy snake lady.
Yeah, it's kind of related. Well, in my world, you see, there's been magical creatures that have been either, morphed into or, developed into kind of half people, half. So it kind of is related. But yeah, she's maybe like the cousin of Palomina and the snake lady, the kind of genetics. The
people keep asking for artwork. Just got to get there.
Yeah, I really want artwork. Yeah, if anybody wants to do some free artwork, awesome. I'd love to have the funds to pay for. There's some really cool artists out there, but at the moment, it's not quite there yet. But hopefully in the future.
All right. And then Poppy, you're working on Not Your Something or Other. Not Your Redacted. That's what
You would think so. But it's actually called With Your Steel.
Okay.
And I don't know if the light's going to let it go. Here, let me turn down the brightening. But I have a cover for it now, and it should go live. Oh my gosh, this is so hard. And it should go live hopefully by April or so. I just got beta feedback back. I have to write a whole lot more of it. So that's going to go live pretty soon. Additionally, I have a totally self-indulgent sapphic isekai about a woman who gets transmigrated into another universe. She, under all expectations, has decided that, she understands that she has died in her past life. She has no hopes and dreams of her own. But she comes into this body with all of the same memories and hopes and dreams of the woman that originally owned this body. And she said, you know what? I have no dreams of my own. I'm just going to fulfill all of this girl's dreams. And then because when I get booted, she'll just wake back up as if it was a dream, but all of her dreams have come true. So it's very self-indulgent. It's very sweet. It's sapphic. And I don't know. I liked it. So that one's probably just going to get released because it was for me.
So we've got Shane is here, Bella's here, Greg is here. Shane says he's here for the silly. Bella is here for the evolution of the snake lady. And So I am currently writing a prequel novella for my series called The Pawns of Havoc. Not the Prawns of Havoc, even though I did make a fake cover with little shrimp on it. That was fun. But it is a novel about one of the side characters in my main series. His name is Cork, and he's a big old axe-wielding mercenary type with a heart of gold. And so this is kind of a like origin story of him working as a mercenary 12 years earlier. No other characters in this show up in the main series. So like it's kind of a completely separate, you could read that without reading the other novels in the series. So I figured I'd write the sort of like reader magnet, alternate entry point into the series type thing and go from there. But apparently it's becoming grimdark. So, speaking of writing, the question for you all, what is the hardest part of writing?
Doing it.
That's true.
Next
Very
question.
true.
Like I really enjoy writing. It brings me so much peace. It's very therapeutic, but also sometimes you just have a rough day. It's very stressful. You don't want to come home and be on the computer and write or pull out your notebook and write because it feels like work sometimes. Even though the end result is so satisfying, sometimes it's just hard to get into the mindset and sit down and write, but it's so important.
I don't know if this is exactly the question, but for me, I love the drafting and the writing part, but the late stage editing is the part that, I don't know, you've already seen it so many times and you're analyzing the words and it's no longer the creating, it's like the very much fine tuning. That's the part that's hardest for me.
That's absolutely
the end
part, yeah.
So boring when you're doing like the line edits and you're just looking at the 15 billion time and you're looking for individual words. It's like,
yeah.
See, I don't like the bookends. So like the very first zero draft where it's a complete mess and I'm still trying to work out what the plot is as I go along, and my characters are going, "We're going to go do this other thing." I'm like, "But plot? No, anyone?" So once I've got that down and in a rough sequence, then I can do the actual fun creative bit.
Yeah, I like the freedom when you're just kind of, because I don't plot anything, so I just like the freedom, like my Cawthorborn story, where I'm just like writing this crazy stuff and it's just going somewhere and I don't, like, it doesn't relate to anything, and then all of a sudden halfway through I'm thinking, all right, okay, now I need to kind of think about it. And it's that kind of jump into, right, make it into a book, and what am I wanting from the characters here, and all that. But I love the freedom part. That's the best bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like marketing. That's all I have to say.
Yeah,
that's the bit they make us do.
I mean, I think marketing's pretty fun. I think Amber is a fantastic marketer.
Yeah.
I agree. Top tier.
The marketing is fun. See, that's the thing is, I come from a marketing background. I worked in agency, but I worked on the analytics side, not the creative side. So I just try not to worry about it too much and have fun.
That's like, is my marketing good? I have absolutely no idea. Do I have fun making dorky, silly stuff? Yeah. And like, sometimes I sell a book and that's cool. But I think for me, it's kind of I like selling books. It is fun. I like it when people read and review the book, but at the same time, it's kind of a like hobby / side thing. And I am a full-time, like I teach and I am really busy sometimes to where like, whenever people read the book, it makes me really happy. But also at the same time, like, it's not something that the book sales are the thing that is going to be like paying my bills for that month or something. So it's never something that like I have to sell this many books or. So I think that makes it a little bit easier to just sort of have fun with it because there's not a end like required amount that I must sell in order to like afford a place to stay for the month because I work full time.
I use
100%.
I use my job to market because I'm part owner of a pub in Edinburgh. So all my customers know about my book. And any new people coming in, I'm like, do you like fantasy? Look. So, and yeah, I think marketing when it's face to face is more fun for me. And I really enjoy it. And some of my customers are really into the story. So, but now I get hassled because they want me to finish the other books. So there is the flip side that they're right there.
Do you do big book launches at your pub?
I did my own book launch at the pub,
Nice.
and I've since joined a fantasy group in Edinburgh, and I've kind of suggested that we could maybe make it a venue for other writers. So maybe in the future we could start something up properly. But yeah, it's all time and
Very cool.
organizing and all that kind of stuff. But I think it would lend itself to that and help other people launch their books, especially indie authors, because obviously we need all the help we can.
Well, Lorraine basically copied from me because I did my book launch at a gluten-free brewery in Tulsa where I live. And I invited all of these local authors. So Maya Darjani, who's the only other person that's like a local author, she was
You
there.
didn't even invite me. I could have driven up.
Actually, I did have some friends from Texas come, but it's okay, Alex. I didn't really want you there.
I know.
Basically, I just was like, you know what? It'll be fun. I invited friends and family and stuff and had like 15, 20 people. And it was worth it just to like, I don't know. Did I sell any books to anyone that wasn't my people there? No. But
That's not necessarily the point of the book launch, though. It's just to have fun and enjoy your book.
yes.
Yeah, doing signings as well, because obviously it's just nuts. People are coming up to you going, could you sign it? And you're like, oh my God, I feel like a real author. And then they're like, you are a real author. And you're like, oh yeah, I am. It's just so weird at the beginning.
I've had some pretty interesting book launch places too, and it's really fun to see like local communities kind of get together and kind of support that. Like since I write D&D-esque fantasy adventure, I've had like I kind of sort of did a soft launch, like I'll post launch party for Not Your Mountain at a gaming store. So a lot of trading card game nerds and D&D nerds were there, and that was a lot of fun. With Not Your Bargain, I had a friend reach out and said, hey, would you mind maybe doing your book signing for your new book at my hair salon? And I was like, that's strange, but sure. And we didn't get a whole lot of people out, but it was really fun because we got a lot of other creators there too. We had like a painter and like a jeweler and things like that we were all kind of hanging out together, and it was very special.
To get you at some Ren fairs.
Sorry, Dave can't do a hair salon for his next book.
I don't know. I could use a trim over here. Like it's getting a little long. Our next question, and this is one that is a question after my own heart, which makes sense because I wrote all of the questions. Who is your funniest character?
Ooh.
Well, that's easy because most of mine aren't funny. My funniest character is Heresy, who is, until we get to the cat character, Heresy is the firm fan favorite because he is a deception demon who is basically Calcifer and a Ghibli soot put together. And his entire purpose in his own mind is to make fun of the main character and laugh when she does stuff wrong and it blows up.
Hey, Rowdy. Let's see. Amber, you go next. I already know the answer to this question.
I think we'll see. We'll see if it's the same. I think it's Pele, the probably Skyless starship. She's snarky and she doesn't hold anything back. She definitely calls Skyla on her stuff, and she's funny. That's
who I was gonna pick. So
yeah,
correct. Lorraine.
Ooh, I don't know. I think they're all funny in their own way, but maybe like funny haha. I'm not. I think Silva, the tavern owner, Silva and Bolivar were kind of written as a bit of light relief in the way of their kind of couple dynamics. Silva's quite like a butch, massive woman who is basically in charge of the shore house, and her husband is kind of downtrodden Bolivar, who basically is kind of second fiddle to her. I think they're like a loving kind of couple, and you get the impression you wouldn't want to mess with Silva. But I don't know, who do you think? I don't know.
I could see that. I wouldn't say that too many of your main characters are like super funny, but that's not really the point of them. They're much too worried about serious matters.
Yeah, there's a God's War coming, you know, so it's serious stuff.
So Alex has no funny characters, so Poppy.
I feel like I stole this question from Alex now. This one's a little bit harder for me because it is meant to be a comedy, so the characters kind of bounce off of one another. I think my gut is saying Samuel because he's meant to be more charismatic, but I think in reality the funniest character is Maddie, just by virtue of being the naive dwarf who keeps falling into trouble. And I think just he's the main character, but he's also the comedy relief in a lot of sense. And I really enjoyed writing him.
All right. And Alex, I guess we'll let you answer the question.
Yeah, so my funniest character is this guy right here with the hat. He's always quipping and sorry. I don't know. My characters are not that funny either. I would say maybe Chert has a good dry humor to him, but it's like very situationally based. Or maybe Pat, who's the chef of the Blue Skies, the ship that I wrote. He's pretty funny too. Yeah, it's one of those two, but neither of them are that funny. They're not like a comedic character.
Alex was actually a little bit ahead of his time because this ship, the Blue Skies, was actually full of all these people who fled a tyrannical reign from this other ship, the X something. I don't remember exactly, but anyway.
I wrote this 5 years ago, Dave.
You knew what was happening. Obviously, yes, my funniest character. Mine is also a humorous story, so I could say, well, there's lots of funny characters, but the funniest character is Corden. He is just the snarkiest, wittiest dude to ever snark and wit. And he's also pretty pleased with himself. My wife said that he was annoying. And I said, he has my sense of humor. And she said,
he doesn't just have your sense of humor. He is your self-insert, Dave.
That is not true. I do not have affairs with every woman in the kingdom. But I love all my characters. I think they're all funny in their own way. I did have one person who reviewed it who said that I had a penchant for mean humor, which is often the best kind of humor, right, Alex?
Absolutely.
So the next question was, who is your favorite character in the Envoys of War, and why is it Corden? But we'll just get past that because we already know the answer to that. So
Francois.
Let's talk about, it is February. Valentine's Day is in 6 days. Let's talk about romance in stories, because I will tell you right now, I love it. It's something, I feel like there's a lot of people who are like, no, my grimdark fantasy has no romance. There's only blood and death. And sometimes it's fun to have some romance. Like, it doesn't have to be just a romance, but I will never have a book that doesn't have a romantic subplot in it. And like, whenever I watch a movie, I'm always like, I hope somebody gets together in this at some point. Even if it's not a romance. So let's talk about you can talk about some of your favorite romances in a sci-fi or fantasy book. You can talk about if you enjoy writing it, some of the things you like about it. Just romance and fantasy and sci-fi. Go.
So I'll hop in. I think, same as you, Dave, I will always have a romantic subplot. And I think because it's so deeply human, I think most people at some point experience a romance. And so I think that it's a good driver for characters to take action. It helps bring depth to, their relationships. And I like all different levels, right? Like, the Red Rising series obviously is not a romance, but I love the romance between Severo and Victra. I think they're an awesome couple, and I love that addition. Mistborn has a romance, even though it's not, billed as a romance. I think that's one thing that, especially people who come and say like, oh, I don't want romance in the books. I think they don't want a romance genre in the fantasy, right? Where it's a meet cute and then, things happen in the middle and then a happily ever after. Well, that's romance genre conventions. But I think a lot of our favorite stories do have romantic subplots, and because it brings that depth.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm trying to think. Alex and Lorraine, you have quite a few romantic subplots.
Yeah.
Alex maybe has one somewhere in there. Slightly.
I've got a couple, thank you very much.
And then Poppy, I believe you do. Thea, I don't actually know. So
I love writing romance subplots, and so books 1 and 2 have 0 romantic subplot in. Sorry. I really wanted to focus on familial relationship and kind of that found family trope. Book 3 has 3 romantic subplots, though, so I'm having a great time with book 3.
It's evil. I love it.
You got to do the really slow burn. The first 2 books, there's nothing.
There's nothing. Book 3, my character decided that he needed one because he'd gone to this workshop with me where we were talking to other people's characters, and he'd met someone, and he's like, I'm not going back to my universe. My universe, you're mean to me. I want to take my boyfriend with me. I'm like, okay, I haven't planned on writing you a boyfriend, so now I am.
Perfect.
I think for mine, my love romance stuff kind of starts in the magic system, because we start off with Criterius, who you find out is married to Melaine. And when a couple, like say somebody has magic or has inherited magic and they marry somebody, they too then end up with the same magic. So it's like they're able to cast that power as well. So there's a lot of like romance in my story, mainly because it's within the magic system as well. But because I'm a kind of fade to black person, I kind of thought, oh, how am I going to do this then? So I think it works, but then I wanted to sort of try something new with Cawthorborn, which is maybe released next year, which will be a bit spicier. So we'll see how it all goes. But I like the dynamics. I've got a little bit of a triangle as well.
Mm-hmm. A big triangle.
So Criterius and
Lady shows up.
Yeah, so Criterius and Melaine have been married for a while, and they're going through a bit of a patch, and then sexy snake lady Palomina comes to the fore, and basically, yeah, she weaves her little magic and stuff. The power dynamics are really good. You find out more in book 2 what really happens. So there's no spoilers involved in that, but I think some people, I remember like somebody read book 1 and they really didn't like Criterius because they said he was like whining like a little bitch basically. but you find out, I think you need to keep reading. I think book 1 kind of lays the scene, and then book 2 you're like, oh right, I get you.
I'll fight anyone who doesn't like Criterius.
So
I know.
Criterius did nothing wrong. It's not his fault.
He's been controlled by women. Come on.
One thing that Lorraine is not telling you is that the way that the men get magic from their
renewing
their
their
bonds
bonds.
is by renewing their bonds. It's what it
And we never get to see what that means, but it's heavily, heavily implied.
There are a lot of fade to black in this book.
I don't think Poppy got to talk about her
Poppy.
romance.
Yeah, I usually have romance subplots. I have a cute, so Not Your Bargain has a lot more Achillean romance in it than Not Your Mountain, where Not Your Mountain ends on an Achillean note, but it's not the subject. So book 2 kind of explores that in more depth. The prequel that is coming out in March, which is a prequel novella, also that turned into more grimdark, also, Dave, which is really funny to me. It's like brutal. I just got beta feedback, and I'm like, I triggered so many people. Anyways, that one is a lot more spicy, and it's very fun. I also write under another pen name, Lily Green, as an ambitious woman and her very normal pet. And there's like a poly romance in there, which is very, very sweet. And I really enjoy exploring that. So lots and lots of romance subplots. I think it's important to my characters and to kind of help them relate to the reader in a lot of ways, or help the readers relate to my characters.
So with my own, there's not an incredible amount of romance in the first book, The Envoys of War.
A lot of pining.
A lot of pining. Not so much even pining, but just like bickering, because that's the best
banter.
Yes. So one of the main characters, Jen, is aromantic, asexual. She does not want to have a relationship with anyone, and so she does not have a relationship or romance with anyone. However, Corden he's a dog, and so he has a romantic interest who can't stand him at the beginning, and they bicker and banter. But Corden also just bickers and banters with just about everyone he meets, which is why he is hilarious and funny and my wife's favorite character. But not true as she walked by. But I love a good romance. It's something that I feel like I couldn't write as like the main thing, just because just like with writing some science fiction, I'm not good enough at the science part. I'd have to make it all up, and I don't know how good I am at that part of it. With the romance, I feel like I would get bored if that was the only plot pushing it forward. I need to have some like swords and intrigue along with the romance. But there is some romance in my novella as well, and I feel like there might be even a little bit more romance in it than there was in Envoys, even if it is becoming grimdark in its own way.
So you're becoming a grimdark romantasy writer.
I mean, that's
heard it here first.
Rach, R.A. Sandpiper is already. She's a grimdark romantasy writer, and her books are, I think you were saying, like basically book 1 they just despise each other, and book 2 they're like, you're okay. And there's a trilogy, so maybe in book 3 they're finally gonna get together. Well, we don't know, but
we love a good slow burn.
Yeah.
So
this next question has nothing to do with writing, but it has to do with weather. Because what would be a group of people getting together without someone asking what the weather is like? So the question here is, what is the most miserable place to live? And the different possible answers are Scotland. We also have England. We have the American Southwest. And I guess Utah is technically the American West. So we're going to put you in your own category, Amber. And then I'm technically in the American Southwest, but where I am is more like it's basically more Midwestern because I'm in northeastern Oklahoma. So I'm going to talk.
You're Texas's hat. That doesn't even count as a state.
So, give us a quick, what is the weather like, and is it the most miserable place ever? Lorraine, you can start first because we know Scotland's miserable.
Well, it's colder than probably York from time to time, but I think York and Edinburgh are on the east coast, so we might have similar weather. Well, it's British weather, really, isn't it? But Scotland is not for the faint-hearted. You don't have much of a summer. When it does come, when it's sunny, you're like, yay, but it also could rain or sleet or whatever on the same day. It can even happen in June, July. And the west coast of Scotland's really wet. So if you want to live or travel up the Highlands and stuff, you are going to get soaking. And if you're ever going to come and visit, you have to bring every kind of outfit possible, like from t-shirts to welly boots. And also in the summer, if you go up traveling up north, you've also got the midges, which all bite you, and they're really horrendous. So yeah, Scotland's great. Come and visit.
Midges are small Scottish, like
You
the
really sell
small
it.
Scottish children.
What's
Are the
that?
midges Scottish children, like you walk down the streets and they bite you?
No, the midges. Have you never heard of the midges? So
Little
the
flies.
they're like tiny little flies that kind of
So
break
Scottish
out.
children.
Yeah, they're mostly, you do get them in Edinburgh from time to time, but they're not the same as the Highland midges. You could end up like with just bites everywhere. They're absolutely disgusting. You come off of like a train or something to go and visit, and they just descend on you. They're just
Speaking of absolutely disgusting, Texas. Alex.
My wife's favorite line is, "You can all go to hell and I will go to Texas," because that's kind of what Texas is like. And yeah, it's hot. It's hot right now. It's like 80 degrees out. When we get rain, we celebrate. And then every once in a while, we'll get a snowstorm that'll shut down the state for a week. So yeah, it's great. Great.
And then Poppy, Arizona, New Mexico.
New Mexico.
Wrong. They're both the same thing, right?
Not at all. Well, so I live in New Mexico, and I've experienced all of the really cool biomes that are New Mexico, because you get the southern Colorado kind of climb up in northern New Mexico where it's beautiful and you have seasons and you have rain and snow. And I ski, like I grew up skiing. And then I moved to the very southern point of New Mexico, and it's basically Tucson. It's lots of desert, pinks and blues, yellows, oranges, all the nice pastel colors. I will say it is February 8th and it is 70 degrees outside right now. And I am not a warm-blooded person. I would prefer to be cold, and it's February. What the fuck? Also, sorry, excuse my language. Like I'm supposed to go skiing in 2 weekends, like 2 weeks from now with my family. And we're looking around going, did we spend $200 on lift tickets for like nothing? Like this is a problem. Also, I don't know what water is. I think I've seen it once or twice in my life. I'm just joking. I do try to visit the Pacific Northwest as much as possible though, so that I can get a little bit of a reprieve from the sunshine.
All right. And Thea.
Can I swap with Poppy? Because
Please.
we have a lot of rain. I'm on the west.
I did make a trade with Lorraine, so I'm happy to trade some of my ideas for some rain.
When I first moved to Manchester, I read something that said it was 20 miles from the wettest place in the country. So I'm like, why am I moving here? I'm originally from Michigan, and I'm like, I've traded, so we don't get the really cold. If we get a little bit of snow, everybody completely freaks out here. No one can cope with any kind of frost.
Yeah.
But it's also cold all summer. So everyone, like my husband, my best friend, they're melting, they're in shorts, they're laying around going, this is so hot. I'm like, it's 20 degrees Celsius, people. This is not even barely warm yet. Come on, it needs to be at least 30, but it doesn't get to 30.
Right. And Amber.
Yeah, I'm originally from Seattle, where it is dark and wet most of the time. So coming to Utah, we kind of switch, where now it's sunny all the time, which is nice, but also very hot or very cold. Right now it's pretty cold.
It is like 42 degrees here and raining at the moment. It'll be in the 30s and raining / icy next week. Oklahoma gets kind of a mixture of you get warm summers and coolish to cold winters, and lots of tornadoes as well, because that's just the funnest thing ever. So I think we figured out the answer is indeed Scotland. All right. Moving forward, let's talk about what is something that you are currently reading.
Ooh.
Books you are currently reading, books that you just finished reading, you could also do as well.
I'll go first. I'm currently in the middle of The Ballad of Spricket the Bard and Company, and I'm having a great time with that one. The other thing that I'm reading is I'm reading one of the other Scribes, I would say alpha copy. It's not even ready for beta, but Greg's upcoming story. I won't say anything more about it. And I think the next thing I'm going to be reading is The Sunset Sovereign. And oh yeah, please pull it up because I left it downstairs. Yeah, that one. Woo!
Oh, that's, yeah.
By
Okay.
Laura Huey. And then I also have some other books on my TBR, but my TBR is so long right now. Like this one about spaceships and
Has a really good audiobook.
I'll pipe in. I just finished reading. I'm catching up on my beta backlog because when I offer beta reads to other people, they offer back, and I had a bunch of beta readers, so it's time to return the favor. My beta read that I just finished was by Ben Shankman, and it's an urban fantasy that kind of combines some indigenous magic systems as well as just like animism, which is really, really interesting. So you kind of have like a what's the I'm sorry, I'm drawing a huge blank. The one in Chicago, and it's like the urban fantasy of urban fantasies. The Dresden Files. It's like Dresden Files, but with an indigenous magic, which is very fun. And I think he tackled that really well. I'm also beta reading a lit RPG that's coming out in March by Laura Huey, also called Honey, I Leveled the Kids, which is a very fun kind of dad goes on solo adventures with his kids, and they're encountering all of these different quests and things like that. It's very wholesome. It's very sweet. So
that's a great name.
Yeah. Oh, it's so much fun, and the kids are so fun. Other than that, yeah, I've just been catching up on my TBR.
All right. Lorraine.
I've read, the last one I read was Bill's Goose Blood.
Goose Blood?
Goose Blood, but Goose Blood. Sorry, God's Blood. That was a chonker, so that took me a while. I really, really enjoyed it. I totally recommend it. And I've got his arc now, which is probably a bit on the back burner now because I'm still reading Bella's arc for Blood and Dreams, which is really, really good. Dave's reading that as well, I think. You still reading that?
Slowly.
Yeah, I think I'm much further ahead than you. I'm just about finished. And then obviously we're doing all our judging for the novella competition, which has been loads and loads of fun. So I think I've still got about another 7 novellas to read. Just finishing off, what's it called? One Flew? I've forgotten the name. One Flew Over? Anyway, Nikki Lee wrote that one. Really, really enjoying it, actually. It's really, really good. So that's been a fun contest. So yeah, that'll probably be me right up until April.
All right. Thea.
I'm reading kind of 2 books at 2 ends of a scale between not nice and nice. They're both very good. But I'm trying to read through a few of my fellow March releases that I have arcs for. I'm reading The Apex Agenda by Tracy Todd, which is very dark so far, gender-based dystopia, so very relevant. And I know it's time to switch reading when my 2-year-old comes up, it's like, Mommy, why sad? Like, this book is a bit... So then I switched to my other one. I'm beta reading this really nice coming-of-age therapy through crafts book as well, for a friend of mine, and it's just really uplifting and sweet. So it's kind of balancing the 2 out.
All right. And Amber.
I have a few things that I'm reading right now. I just finished Heir of Sun and Moon by Janessa Wren, and one of my friends just finished it as well, so I went straight into the sequel with her. It is a Rapunzel retelling in book 1 and a Beauty and the Beast retelling in book 2. So if you like romantasy, it's really well done. I'm also buddy reading Pathlighter by Rob Lee, and I am listening to Winter by Marissa Myers. That's the final book in the Lunar Chronicles. Really fun YA sci-fi. And I'm about to start a beta read probably this weekend. It's K.M. Davidson's third book in her series. I beta read book 2, which was Fate Demands Sacrifice, and I couldn't put it down. I finished it in 2 days, even though I was beta reading it. So I'm pretty excited to jump into that one.
All right, and I need to start Pathlighter because I'm also in that beta read. Started it yet. I'm reading. I'm in book 2 of the Great Coat series by Sebastian de Castell. I just read his book Play of Shadows and loved it, and so I'm moving through there. I'm also currently reading 2 of the SBFBO finalists, Mushroom Blues and the Oathsworn Legacy. And I do have Bella's Arc. I've read a little bit of that. And there's something else that I was reading as well. I don't know. That's all I can think of at the moment. But I'd say probably this month is already, or well, I guess it was January now, was a great month for me because I read Lightfall by Ed Crocker, which was absolutely fantastic. And then Play of Shadows by Sebastian de Castell. So I've become a sellout reading traditionally published novels in January. They were both really, really good. So I'm sorry, Indie Fantasy. I'm sorry. I'll come back to you. I also read a book by Z.B. Steele.
You're allowed to do that every now and again. You're allowed to a trad pub book.
A few trad pubs here and there. I read a novella by Z.B. Steele. It was a lie. Because it looked like it had a really cute fox and it was going to be this little fox story. It was not a happy little fox story. It was good, but it was not a happy little fox story. So,
has he got any foxes in it?
Stevie is now dead to me, and I'll never speak to him again. And so the next question is kind of along the same lines. It is a reading question as well, but it is if you had to recommend 1 or 2 indie novels that are not written by you, and we're going to make it hard for the scribes and say that are not written by fellow secret scribes, that you would recommend that everyone read, what would it/they be?
Just one.
Just 1 or 2. Like you can, I mean, basically.
Poppy already has her answer.
Yes, Poppy's cheating because she's picking someone from her own writing group over there.
I can play it fair. I can choose someone that's not in Crystalline Cities. How about that?
Are those of us who aren't scribes allowed to name scribes? Or is that off the board?
You are. Yeah, that's not cheating.
So I have 2 chunky fantasy ones. So The Wingspan of Treason by Ellen Bain is absolutely epic. And I was just looking for my copy and it's not close enough, so thank you, Lorraine.
I got it.
And like non-human characters, The Daughters of Tith by J. Patricia Anderson is another great chunky fantasy. It's completely, there are no humans in it from the main 6 point of views, but it's really well written. It all comes together really brilliantly.
Right.
Well, everybody will probably know my favorite author is Philip Quantrell, who wrote the Echoes of Fate saga, and also I'm really loving Ryan Cahill and really looking forward to his next book coming out, I think in March. So they're my 2 big, and they're both indie, so they're my 2 big faves. And I also really love Jay Kristoff and his vampire series that he's got out, which I always what?
Question was indie.
Oh yeah, but I know, but I just snuck that in. It's really good.
All right. So we still have Alex and Amber. Poppy, did you say yours already?
I am not going to use a Crystalline Cities because you put a caveat on Secret Scribes, so it would not be fair for me to suggest the incredible author Laura Huey or Tara Torre or SF Henney or any of our other fantastic authors. However, I will suggest Ben Shankman, who is the author of The Devil You Know. That is a fantastic trilogy. I think he's expanding it into 5. It's very fun. It's urban fantasy. It's contemporary. It's very light. It moves very quickly. It was very fun. I also have Evie Belknap's The Tenfold Tenants, it's so much fun. If you guys have some time, definitely read that one. And of course, Mikkel Melvassel's Paragon Exordium is also just a blast. And it's a chonker. It takes a lot to get through, but the story is very solid and I really enjoyed it. So the other ones I'd recommend got picked up by Tor, so I can't mention them.
All right, I'll go with Earthbound by Katie Stein. It is a science fantasy with magic based on oaths. It has a really well done love triangle, romantic subplot. It has creatures in the earth that are Dune-like or like Tremors, if you ever saw that horror movie. I think it was really, really well done. It's one of my favorites. It has an excellent audiobook as well. And Falling Through the Black by E.A. Hendricks. It is book 2. Book 1's really good as well, but it has kind of that same structure like you have in the Lunar Chronicles, where each book follows more closely a different set of characters, and the cast is kind of building through the series. And my favorite so far is Falling Through the Black. It is a YA space opera style, intergalactic. The male main character is kind of a double agent spy. The female main character is a princess who got lost on a desert world and grew up with a bunch of ruffians. So it's just really fun.
All right. Alex.
So I recommend The Envoys of War by Dave Lawson. He said he's kicking me out of the Secret Scribes if I recommend it or if I don't recommend it. So I might as well just recommend this one. No. But 2 that are not scribes that are not on this call. I don't know if you've heard of Witch Hazel by T.C. Roberts Finn. It's kind of a Witcher style, very dark world with a unlikable main character who's just trying to go and do the right thing, but he's not very good at it. I really enjoyed that one. That one came out maybe 6 months ago. And then I really like Vengeance is Our Legacy by MC Burnell. It was a very unique story where essentially the 2 main characters who don't like each other at first find themselves on the run, essentially. And so they're kind of wandering through the world, just figuring out how how things got the way they are with them. They were kind of following others' orders the whole time, their whole lives, and then all of a sudden they have to do their own thing and they're figuring themselves out. And there's a lot of interesting magic to that as well.
All right. Well, I'm cheating because I'm the host and I can cheat if I want to, and I'm going to say more than 2. But Earthbound was great. I listened to that audiobook. Team Amelia and Taryn, definitely. And I will say
the right choice.
When the World Starts to Pray by Sam Parrish, Greg is trying to steal my book that I liked first. That was a like classic D&D-ish fantasy adventure. And then I'm going to talk about 3 novellas, all of whom are finalists in the Sphinx competition, all of which I have already read, 2 of which I read before the competition even started, so I can't even judge them in the finals. But they're awesome books that people need to read. So the first one is As Born to Rule the Storm by Kate Baumer, and it is maybe the best novella I have ever read. It is a finalist, and it's not time travel, but there is like, the character has the like ability to go forward and see possible futures. There is a love interest in there as well. It's kind of like a romantic sci fantasy that is just, it blew me away. It was one of the best books I've read. So As Born to Rule the Storm by Kate Baumer. And then also we have The Whisper That Replaced God by Tim Wolfe. Fantastic book. I loved the voice. Really good main character. It also has a really good audiobook. It's only like, it's like a 2-hour audiobook, but it's the perfect like length where that is a must read as well. And then also Major Domo by Tim Carter is another one that I absolutely love. It's actually the first indie book that I read in my indie author career, I think maybe. No, I think I'd read like 2 or 3 before it. But is the first one that I actually wrote a full-length review of. Because I'd never, like, I'd always written, like, I enjoyed this book. It was fun. I'm like, but I'd never written, like, a full review. And it was the first one I wrote a review for. And it is also, it's like a humorous D&D-esque novella from the perspective of a kobold who is the major domo for like one of the like the evil necromancer, but you get a very different vibe where it's actually like you think, oh, this is going to be a funny story, and then it's like, oh my god, the emotional damage that is happening to me right now, because like it focuses on things like dementia and Alzheimer's in a parent. You've got some like other like emotional distress, like aging parents. Like there are a lot of stuff you're like, I did not expect this in this funny little fantasy novella, and then suddenly it is there and it is fantastic. So those are all 3 really good novellas that you should definitely read. If you're looking for an audiobook, I also suggest Umbra by Amber Toro. It's a really good Poppy, do you have any audiobooks out?
No, not yet. I'm too poor.
I mean, I have an audiobook that's going to be coming out here in the next few months. Hopefully, it's been fully edited. It's in the the narrator is like listening back through, and then once he has finished that, I will be listening through and then making comments and everything to get to the next step. But I did the like royalty share option where I did not pay anything up front. But he gets 20% of the royalties, I get 20% of the royalties, and then the evil Amazon gets the other 60% of the royalties. But I was kind of like, I am not going to have, I'm a high school teacher. I'm not going to have the money to actually pay for an audiobook for a while, but I want there to be an audiobook. And I did this, and I searched through like a bunch of narrators, found one that I liked, and I think it'll be good. He's very British. He says, whenever he says like free, it sounds kind of like free. So he's like, there were free horses. And I'm like, I hope the Americans don't think that the horses didn't cost any money. But I do love it. British people are the best. Tim Wolfe said the Whisper 2 audiobook is done. I'm excited for more Lord Mute.
Audiobooks kind of scare me. I don't know why, because you do hear a lot about the cost of them, and for me as well, it's just a time thing of being organized to get to look into it all. But yeah, it's just another thing that we have to organize, and it's just scary. You've got so much else to do.
I will
Lorraine,
say,
you'd have to find someone who could do justice to Criterius.
absolutely.
Do you think he's got a low voice?
What?
Do you think he's got a low voice?
He's got to, like, so Amber will be the only one that knows this, but like in the Earthbound audiobook, like the guy who did that, the male characters were like, Amelia, I will protect my oath. Like,
Magnus. Yep.
Like for Criterius, he's got to have that same.
I think it would be perfect. Yeah.
Just hire Dave to do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I don't have the equipment. So let's see. Thea, do you have any audiobooks?
No, ditto what Bobby said, but I didn't know you could do the royalty share thing, so it can go on my list of to-dos to look into.
I didn't. So what you get there is that some narrators won't do that because they want the upfront. So you end up with someone who is probably trying to get into the business. So there are going to be some people you listen to that don't have very good production quality, and so you have to listen to and like get a lot of auditions to try to find the people that you think are going to fit the story. But
You're also constrained to the platform.
Yeah.
you're constrained to the platform. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be. You can do it to where it's not just an ACX only thing, I believe, through there.
How did you deal with it, Amber? Was it easy for you to organize?
Yeah, I kind of lucked out. One of my friends had been talking with a narrator, and her husband are both narrators. Because the problem with indie when you want dual is it's hard to find and it's expensive. So my friend actually found my narrator. She told there was a few of us that were looking for this dual narration, and two of us ended up moving forward with this couple. So I didn't audition anyone but them. Basically, I was like, if they nail their audition piece, we're going for it. And they did. They did a really, really great job. So I really lucked out. I didn't have to audition. I basically just listened to them and they were really great.
Oh, you're lucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did a really good job. I like that audiobook. So
Yeah.
I personally
they were like, big shots. I kind of thought you had done an audiobook as part of your Kickstarter, but maybe that wasn't part of the Kickstarter.
So I wanted to do it as a stretch goal, but we didn't hit the stretch goal, which I think is okay because I found out later I supported ZS Diamante's Kickstarter for the audiobooks on his series, and you get them through BookFunnel, which is fine for listening for me, right, as the end user, but you can't review them on Audible. So it's something that's kind of a bummer for, these people that do it through their Kickstarter, is that they, sold maybe all these audiobooks and they'll have no reviews on Audible, which is rough.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Poppy, you were saying something?
No, that's good to know. Part of my problem is that I have my heart set on exactly one person. And he is not on ACX as far as I can tell. So I'm kind of saving up and I'm also going back over. But that's really good to know because in utilizing him, I would probably have to go through the same issues that Amber's talking about. So that's really good knowledge to have.
Kickstarters in general seem very scary and like something that I need several more years of before I even start.
There's so much work. You see what you see on, that people share, times that by probably 10. I know when I went into it, I'm like, yeah, I got this. And by the end, it's I'm so exhausted. It's really fun. I definitely recommend it, but just be ready. It is a lot.
All right. Well, I think I had one more question today, which was, we're going to end after this question with all of you giving one little pitch again about your book so that, where you can buy your books, where you can find them, etc. But first off, before we end, what is a trope that you really like in sci-fi or fantasy?
All of them.
You can also say a trope you hate if you're just a hater. Apparently, we like all the tropes.
Yeah.
I think the trope I keep coming back to is names, like the importance of names. And it keeps playing into my writing, and I don't realize it until I'm all the way through the book, and I've realized, this character's name changed it, but it was very, very purposeful on different stages of this character's development. And for some reason, I keep returning to that. And it wasn't a conscious decision; it just keeps happening, and I enjoy it post-mortem.
Okay. I'm gonna go with only one bed. Come on, you can't go wrong with it. Come on. It's a solid choice always. Except Rach, Ari Sandpiper, had a TikTok, I think, where she talked about this, and she said, there's only one bed, but it's a California king, which means you got way too much room.
Mine are pretty basic. I like enemies to lovers and slow burn.
Okay.
I just like the sort of intrigue, the kind of like story unraveling as it goes along, whether that be your youngster coming into his powers, or a slow burn romance, or just the good guys figuring out what the bad guys are up to. Yeah, pesky gods, all of it. I love it.
I tend to end up with a lot of the slow burn and the naming one as well. But the one that I have accidentally written into every book, and I didn't realize until like the 4th or 5th book I wrote, is found family. There is an adoption at some point in every book that I've written without meaning to.
All right, well, I'll be the hater, and I'll say I hate quippy main characters who keep talking. No, I'm just kidding. I like quippy main characters. I think the thing I like fantasy tropes, so I like a lot of them. But found family is a great one. I guess the main character being new to the world, not really understanding how the world works, and kind of stumbling their way in. That's a big one for me. The adventure, I love adventure stories. Yeah, I like a lot of fantasy tropes. So
I love a good. So I wouldn't say like enemies to lovers. It's kind of one of those like, I feel like in a lot of them they're enemies to the point where it's like they're going to kill the other person, and then they're like, we actually end up in love, which works. I like it more, and I think it is enemies to lovers too, but it's more of like they don't like each other and they bicker and argue a lot, but they're not like on the verge of murdering each other. I feel like in some of the romanticies, it's like it's only enemies to lovers if they are actively trying to kill the other person. When
I was doing the marketing for Umbra, I had to Google it because I was really worried. I don't market Umbra so much as enemies to lovers, but it technically is, because it's like you said, Dave. They're like on opposite sides of the issues. They don't like each other, but they're not trying to kill each other actively. So I think there's a huge spectrum there.
And I know some people call that rivals to lovers, which
is a subtrope of enemies to lovers. I did my research because I knew people were going to call me out on it.
Because like I like it when they don't like each other, but maybe I like that better than they're like trying to kill each other.
Dave, there's nothing sexier than when two people hate each other so much that they fall in love. It's just...
I grew up. I was a film minor in college. I studied a lot of old like 1930s and 40s comedies, and I love a good old screwball comedy. And they all have the woman and the man who they meet each other and they immediately can't stand the other person. And the first half of the movie, they are completely against each other. And then they sort of start to like each other as it gets going. And that's just that every single time. I am on board for that every single time.
See, Dave, he says he doesn't like this, wanting to kill each other to lovers thing, but he wrote it into his book Envoys of War. Gordon and Tobias are very much like that.
Gordon and Tobias are not in love.
Not yet. It's a slow burn.
Rach read it as like at the developmental editing, like beta reading stage, and she was like, and she wrote a comment, and there's a scene where because Tobias hates Gordon more than anything, and they're arguing, and she was like, enemies to lovers, ? No, they are not.
Yeah, but she was right, because he goes all the way across the world to get him and stuff. No spoilers, sorry.
Well, that's early. That's early.
Along the lines of
true.
Waiting 16 years to kill someone and just letting hate. That's the ultimate enemies
romantic.
To lovers.
Yeah.
Whatever. So my wife says that Corden and Avelia are enemies to lovers, which they're more of the like they dislike each other, and spend a lot of time bickering. And that's the kind I like, more than the I'm going to slit your throat. No, I'm actually going to seduce you. So last little bit here. Give everyone a quick who you are, what you've written, where they can find your books. So we'll go backwards this time, and we'll start with Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex. I wrote The Autolic Stone. It's the only book with the word Autolic in it, so it should be pretty easy to find on Amazon.
If you spell it right. No,
It's not that hard to spell. Come on.
Wait, let me get my copy of the Autolic Stone.
Yeah.
It's ready. It's shy. It's shy.
I'm surprised you don't have your mustache cover. Where's that one?
That's in my other room. All right, Lorraine.
Yeah, so I've got 2 books. Got Grante's Guardian, and follow up is on the cover is Mullane. So these guys are the couple that I was telling you about earlier, husband and wife team that has a little bit of a love triangle coming in and disrupting everything, as well as the pesky gods war that's on its way. And yeah, it's just a fun read. Don't take it too seriously, just enjoy it. And basically book 1, there's a lot of things in book 1 that you will not know what it's all about until later books. I've already kind of had a little tracking thing going on in my head, going, right, oh yeah, what about this bit, what about that bit? So you read book 1, you might forget half of the stuff, like the little puzzly bits. Alex likes puzzles, you'll like this. And then yeah, later on books, you'll see the intricate web coming together.
All right. And
criticizing
Amber.
how to spell my name. How do you spell Garantia?
Oh yeah, I know. So that's and people kind of go, how do you pronounce it? So Garantia, I pronounce it.
All right, Amber.
I'm Amber Toro. My book is Umbra. It's the first of the Sentient Stars. Book 2 is coming out this spring. It's Parallax. You can find them on Kindle Unlimited and on Audible, or wherever else you like to pick up books.
And I think Umbra is pretty easy to pronounce, but Dave is having trouble with it. So
Umber.
Umber.
No, it's just I took Amber and Umbra and I made them one thing.
Yeah,
Well-
if you say so, Dave. Sure.
Well, also, there's an Edinburgh connection almost with Amber's book, because you can pronounce Edinburgh Embra. So some people go Embra. So there's Umbra.
That
Embra.
is true. I have heard, like, my narrator pronounces it more like that. So yeah.
Well.
And Amber, you also sell them on your website, right?
Oh yeah.
Copies?
Yeah, I do. Yes, I have the special edition copies. They're available through the links on like my social. I need to connect it to my website. I have not yet.
Okay. And then Thea.
Okay, I have The Hiding, which is both easy to say and easy to spell. Which is book 1 of the Thea of York. Book 2 comes out in March. And yeah, dark alternate York with a witch and her multi-faith, multi-species Scooby gang solving mysteries with science and magic. And you can get it pretty much anywhere, Amazon, bookstore, e-reader, or physical copies.
All right. And Poppy.
You can get the Not Your Adventure series on Amazon right now. I have my links on my link tree. So if you go to my social media on Instagram, you can my link tree and it'll send you there. You can also get An Ambitious Woman on Amazon. If you want physical copies that are signed, I do have a coffee page where you can get signed and annotated hard copies.
All right. And then
Also easy to pronounce.
My book,
Also easy
The
to pronounce.
Envoys of War, which is apparently pronounced very differently in the UK because they say envoys, whereas in the US it's envoys. Or maybe people say envoys. I just say envoys because to me that's how it should be pronounced. But like my narrator says,
I think whichever sounds better of the two. So I'd say envoys because French.
But yeah, that's kind of where I come from. But you can find it on Amazon. It is available paperback wise and hardcover wise at all the other places as well. And you can also buy signed copies on my website, including the mustache special edition that Shane in the comments actually bought one of those the other day. So I got to ship some of those out here on Monday because the post office is not open on the weekends. And me trying to get to the post office after teaching all day and drama rehearsals, it's very hard to actually get to the post office Tuesday through Friday. So got to get those on Monday. But the mustache copy is available on my website. You can buy copies there. It comes with mustaches. If you go on Blue Sky to Adam Holcomb, he won a giveaway, and he has a picture of the book with the mustache stickers I sent him on his lips and eyebrows. So I don't know. It all started as just like a joke, and people were like, "I'd buy the mustache book." So I was like, "I guess I'll make mustache books." But all right. Thank you everyone for coming. This was a good show. And if you're in the audience and you haven't bought any of these books, haven't gotten them on Kindle Unlimited, I think everyone is available on Kindle Unlimited. Thea, you're not. Everyone but Thea is on Kindle Unlimited.
My ebooks are on other platforms as well, so they're not allowed to be on Kindle Unlimited.
Right. So, go get our books, read our books, go listen to Amber's audiobook. It is Umbra, not Umber. And, rate, review, tell all your friends. We appreciate you all. Thanks everyone for coming. Now we, as Mike Molman would say, we're going to wave awkwardly to the screen until the stream ends.